Hi, Doc Hale here. Today I wanted to talk to you about something that I've had to deal with recently, and that's the subject of fear. I thought I'd work through most of the fears in my life, but you know what happens? Sometimes you start something new, and some new fears crop up that you were unaware of, and you end up having to deal with them. But you know what? All these fears succumb to the same methods anyway, so you want to ask yourself, what do we really have to fear anyway? I mean, really. Have you ever found yourself feeling like you just don't want to do something that you know you should be doing? Like maybe you can't pick up the phone and call someone, or you're afraid to talk to someone that you see out in public or something. They look like an interesting person. You'd really like to talk to them, but you just can't bring yourself to start the conversation. And more specifically, as it pertains to marketing, you may find yourself not being able to call anyone on your list. Or maybe you never get around to trying to place an ad on Google or Facebook, even though you've taken the course in pay-per-click marketing and you got all the information and you're ready to get going. You just get paralyzed. You can't do it. Or maybe you don't even return your calls to your sponsor or your mentor, or even worse, you don't even call your prospects back. Now, that can be pretty bad. Well, what's the motivation here? In almost every case, especially when your rational mind or your rational self knows that these fears are keeping you from your best interest, or you know that if you conquer these fears, it'll take you closer to your known goals. Well, you'll find that in almost every case, you're operating out of fear. Again, what fear of what? Well, there are times when fear is appropriate, like maybe if you're walking in the woods and you suddenly are confronted by a bear. Well, then it's appropriate. Get your body ready for fight or flight, and in this case, hopefully you run pretty fast. If you saw this guy in the woods, I'm sure you'd want to get the heck out of there. But did you notice something different between this kind of a fear reaction and a fear of something that is not even presenting any kind of danger in present time? When you've run into a bear, that's happening right now. And once you've escaped the encounter with this bear, you gradually calm down and the fear subsides. And if you're in pretty good shape mentally, you don't go around the rest of your life thinking there's a bear around every corner or the next aisle of the Walmart store, or drinking beer like this guy. Granted, you may in the future be better prepared if you're going to walk in the woods where a bear might live. You might take some rational preparations like some bear pepper spray or this nice little revolver here that might put you in a little better position if you run into a bear. So what we're talking about really in the other cases about is irrational fear. And so what is it about fear? Where does this come from when there's really no present time danger? Well, the mind has a way of storing every incident you experience in life. And there are times when it is stored in your rational mind, and then this information becomes available to you to make rational choices with regard to survival. Such is the case when you make a better preparations when you're going to walk somewhere where you might encounter a bear. And there are times when that information is stored in our irrational mind and is out of our awareness. Some people call this a subconscious mind. It's probably the only mind that is never subconscious. But others call it the reactive mind because the information that's stored in here is stimulus response. It's reactive. Doesn't have benefit of rational thinking or awareness. The times when it is stored there are generally times when there's injury or illness associated with the incident, when there's to some degree less awareness. In other words, you're not completely conscious. This could range all the way from a mild kind of fog, like when you're sick, all the way to total and complete unconsciousness. This is why it is sometimes hard to locate these earlier incidences when one is trying to find the source of their irrational fear. In the above example, if the bear had attacked you, or maybe you'd merely just stumbled over a rock and injured yourself, then this event might be stored in the reactive mind. This could make you subject to having an irrational fear of bears, perhaps thinking they're around every corner. Think about the times when you are most apt to be invalidated or made wrong. These are usually times when you've made a mistake, you fell down, you did something wrong, or you had an accident, you might be being punished or something like that. And if there's injury or illness associated with these incidences, or when someone told you that you'd failed or you'd done something wrong, or whatever they say in those situations to say things like that. But anyway, these can serve to produce an irrational fear of failing or being wrong in the future. So you can see that when a fear appears, when there is no real present time danger, it is coming from an irrational reaction that is being re-stimulated by the environment in present time that is similar to when the real danger once existed. There really is nothing to fear in the present time. There's nothing dangerous going on right now. So now what? Well, sometimes just knowing the mechanism can help you start dealing proactively with these fears. But not always. No matter how much you realize that there really is nothing to fear, the mind can be so powerful that the body continues to respond as if there was something to fear. You can even have actual physiological fear phenomenon appear. Heart rate gets pounding, you start to stumble when you speak, all those things, or maybe you can't even speak. Well, the good news is something can be done about it. One way to get rid of an irrational fear is first to learn everything you can about the subject that you are experiencing fear about. Then confront it. Force yourself to make a call. Depending on how strong the fear is, you may need to apply a gradient. And that means just to do it in a gradual step-by-step approach. One gradient you might use is just start by calling people that you know and have a conversation. Then you can call people that you know and ask them some personal questions, not prying into their personal life, being nosy, but what are your goals for this year, and ask questions so you can get them to talk back to you. And you'll find after a while of doing this, you'll find out that people aren't so hard to talk to. And once you get comfortable with this, you don't feel that fear coming on when you pick up the phone, you can continue on making prospecting calls. And when you're making a prospecting call, remember that you'll need to ask personal questions. You'll need to pry into their life. If you really want to help them, you're going to have to find out what it is that's really messing up their life, and what would motivate them to, take on it, doing something different. But that's a different skill altogether. For right now, we're just going to deal with the fear. The basic principle that you're using here is the way through something difficult is to push through it. This tends to destimulate the fear, and soon it'll be completely gone. Another basic principle that you're dealing with is you cannot be the adverse effect of that which you can confront. Does this help? Does that make sense to you? I have listened to many mentors and gurus talk about fear, and they usually get to the point that there really isn't anything to be fearful of, that it's all in our mind, which is true, but then what? The fear is real whether it's imagined or not. Or at least the feeling of that fear is real whether it's imagined or not. The fear may not be real, but they never tell you how to get through it. They know because at some point they actually push through it themselves, usually out of necessity, just by repetitiously doing it over and over and again. Now this is true. That's how you do it. But isn't it nice to know that there follows basic principles rather than just having faith that it will happen? There is nothing more reassuring than to be on the other side and having experienced it. But before you are there, the road can get pretty rough. And if you don't have good road signs to follow, you can easily end up in the ditch. You can apply this to any fear you have. And if you're in the network marketing business, it can apply to the fear of contacting, fear of failure, or fear of rejection. In summary, basically, here is what you do. Understand the mechanism of irrational fear versus real present-time danger. Learn all you can about your fear. If it is inviting a prospect to review your business, learn your inviting script pat. Learn everything you can about your business. Know who your mentors are and learn from them. And push through whatever it is you are not confronting when you know it will take you closer to attaining your goals. Do it on a gradient if you need to. Set a specific time each day to take measurable action steps. For example, make 10 calls each day between 4 and 6 p.m. and count that down. Mark it down. If you do 11, mark 11. If you do 12, mark 12. Something that you can actually measure. And if you need to, have someone that you can be accountable to. I hope this is helpful for you. I have struggled with this myself, and just knowing that something can be done about it really helped me. If you have real severe paralyzing fears, there are therapies that really help if you avail yourself to them. And if you want to know more about these, please contact me personally and I can get you more data. And if this information has been helpful to you, please pass it on and make a comment below. Let me know how this information has helped you or not helped you, or maybe you have something to add to it. Our community will benefit from your comments. And remember, you have everything you need to be successful within you. Talk soon. This is Doc Hale. Goodbye for now.